Well, it's Groundhog Day again. McKellar, and I'm here with Jamie McDermid. This is
Hello.
this week's episode of IcyCast. It's Names of Games, the letter F. We had some problems with Facebook with the live stream, so hopefully that's not going to be a long-term thing. In the meantime, we're pre-recording this. How you doing, Jamie?
I'm all right, mate. I've got a feeling of
last night.
I've got a wee feeling of déjà vu.
Déjà vu? Would that not be trois vu?
No, tre, because it's the third time.
Would that be trois in French though?
Tre. Who said I'm
no,
doing
no.
this? I could be fucking doing it, John. Shut your face, right?
Blah blah bang bus, blah blah magic bus. If you were there, you were there. Otherwise, you're just going to have to forget it because we're going to move on from that. The latest news: you're working on shorts, and
Yes.
you're working hard on Bloodbath Burlesque. Let's talk about
that. I mean, again, it's writing the live stuff is markedly different from like anything else. It's better. It's not even better. I enjoy writing live stuff. It's going to be quicker. It's going to be wittier. It has to keep an audience attentive. It can't fuck up. There's no like do-overs. You can't stop a live show halfway through and say, "Well, we've stopped a live show. We've been stopped." But you can't actually stop like a live kind of horror thing and say, "Look, we fucked up. Can we start it again?" So you need to keep it simple, but it still has to be good. It still has to be exciting. It still has to be scary above all else. I'm hoping to really kind of mix the horror elements along with the burlesque and cabaret elements and bring in some ability to like make good film content as well into it too. So that's going to be really exciting. Hoping for a summer kind of layout for that.
Yeah, like I said before, in the first attempt that we made at tonight's show, I think Bloodbath Burlesque is a really great dry run for what we're going to be doing on a larger scale in the set piece aspect of the film, the sound booth. I think the set pieces in sound booth are going to be practically very similar to the live stage show, the way that they're kind of put together and the way that they're going to be filmed and stuff. So I think that's going to be a nice proof of concept for us to see if we're able to kind of pull it off, and to see what we need to learn and how fast.
Aye. I think the shorts are actually going to be better for us. Certainly with learning our craft, so to speak. Why the shorts will be directly related to sound booth. Why the shorts isn't related to sound booth in any way. But we'll still use both shorts to push for funding for sound booth. It'll be the two shorts that people see in Kickstarter. It'll be the two shorts that people see on YouTube and Facebook. And it'll give people an understanding of how, like, what kind of vision we've got for horror too. I think that's quite important. That you want to put stuff out there. Like, if you go back to Sam Raimi's stuff for Evil Dead 2, and that, you know what his style and taste is essentially based on them. So it's giving people a wee look at our style and taste. It's a wee look at what we can do. Both of them are very different, the two shorts. One of them's get Mary a kind of comedy horror aspect, the same as a sound booth is, and the other one is more just a flat out. It's a kind of wee slice of very tense horror, built up a lot on camera angles and sound or lack of sound. So
so in other words, what you're saying is no pressure, John.
No pressure, John, at all. No. But again, like, even all this, like, doing the wee storyboards and all that, doing the walkthroughs, it's all stuff because we've basically done a script in microcosm. It's essentially training ourselves how to do it well. And weirdly, I know I've wrote this short a few times now. You know what my style's like, and back deleting stuff, rewriting, going back deleting, rewriting. So I kind of play it out in my head. Like, I know how it actually is, as if I've watched it essentially. By writing it so many times, which can only be a good thing. And I hope it freaks people out. That's the main aim of horror. It's going to be entertaining and it's going to scare you. So I want you to be looking at your shooter. No for me, just for like boogeymen. I might be there. I might be there. You should look out for me. So maybe John might be there. Who knows?
I might be sitting beside you right now.
Yeah,
you can tell. before we fire into the names of games part of the show, I just want to recap what we announced last week and some of the changes that we're making to the podcast. From April 1st, the podcast will be available on a 1-month delay on Spotify podcasts, so you can listen to it where you stream your podcasts. So it will be an actual audio podcast that you can go and stream directly for your app moving forward from the 1st of April. Every episode so far will go up on the 1st of April, and then Patreon subscribers will get each episode for a month.
Yeah.
At which point it will automatically get added to the podcast feed.
Excellent.
The video versions of the podcast will only be available on YouTube moving forward after the 1st of April. So please do follow us on our brand new ICCast YouTube, which is at ICCast Pod, I think, on YouTube. Yeah, so jump on there. We'll still be streaming it live to Twitch, and you can get it on demand there for a week. But moving forward from the 1st of April, you'll be able to listen to it as just a normal podcast when you're out and about. And Patreon subscribers, they'll get 4 weeks, basically a month, with exclusive access to the show. And then when you won't be able to watch it on Facebook, you'll have to go to YouTube. So that's the kind of changes that are being made. In addition to that, we're doing an entirely separate show. Moving forward from the 1st of April, we'll be doing 2 different podcasts. The ICCast, as you know it. However, it won't have anything to do with any horror, because we're doing a separate horror podcast, the Fright or Flight podcast. You can follow the Fright or Flight podcast on YouTube at Fright or Flight Pod, I think. Is it Fright or Flight Pod?
It is. I think that's what he says to me.
Yeah, let me have a quick look, actually. It's at Fright or Flight Podcast, all one word.
Cool, okay.
At Fright or Flight Podcast on YouTube. We'll put a link up to it at some point closer to the time. And it will be the same deal. You'll get 4 weeks early access if you're on Patreon, which is patreon.com/iceboxglasgow. However, I think that there's going to be a separate Patreon created for the horror podcast and for the horror stuff, which we'll update you on that sooner. Closer to the time. But it'll be the same deal. That will go up on a podcast feed on a month delay. You'll only be able to get the video versions on YouTube, and Patreon subscribers will get it a month early.
Yeah.
Plus, if we do any emergency/bonus episodes, they'll be Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
All right. So, because we need to make some motherfucking money. We need to make some money to make this film. In any avenue we can use, we will do so. I think that's about it in terms of updates. Let's get into the first game, which is your first one, Jamie, is 2001 survival horror game.
Space Odyssey.
Fatal Frame, also known as Zero, also known as Project Zero.
Yep.
Explain
Which again,
this to
I didn't know. I didn't actually know it had different names as well. It was literally I was trying to kind of give my brain a wee jump start about the actual gameplay itself. I kind of remembered it, but we're going back to PlayStation 2, so I was like, I've played it. I really enjoyed it, but there's a lot of these kind of Japanese kind of horror stuff that came out about the same time. A lot of the games are good, but a lot of them are very samey. So I had to make sure I had the correct one in my head. It was only you saying Zero, and it turns out it was also called Project Zero. So, essentially, you play as a character called Miku. You're looking for your brother in a giant fucking haunted mansion. I think it's based on, as far as I remember, some of it's based on actual Japanese kind of ghost mythology and stuff. There's a crazy kind of strangling curse in it as well. Oh, it sounds a bit, choky covered wank to me, but as soon as you go into the house, a ghost essentially starts strangling you slightly. It ties you up. You get burn marks on your wrists, burn marks on your ankles, and once you start to get the burn marks on your neck, you're essentially dead. So you're stuck in that house to forever wander its halls like Michael Hutchins. Yeah. All that guy that was in Kung Fu, what's his name?
David Carradine.
David Carradine, that's it. So you have to
I
fight
don't know what
David.
you're laughing about, Jamie. You're coming out here for a wee chokey cupboard wank in a couple of weeks.
No, that's you threatening me. That's a threat, John. I've already to get polls involved.
And we wonder why Facebook keeps cutting after live feeds.
It might be that. It might be that.
It might be. It might also be the picture that they did with a fucking machete in his head.
I think it's going to be quite fun to see how we can do film something when you have to stay at least 100 yards from me at any point in time. But you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, John. Fatal Frame. Essentially, the story is you're looking for your brother in this haunted mansion. That the only weapon you've got, which I remember was weird but kind of cool, is a camera obscura. So if ghosts attack you, your only defense against them is you have to capture them in the actual frame as if you're taking a picture of them, and then by taking pictures of them, you drain them of their life, or there's other things you get. There's other kind of add-ons to the camera that will pause the ghost or will set the ghost like just going back away for you, essentially.
So what you're telling me, Jamie, is that you captured the ghost in a fatal frame?
I do, mate. Aye. I mean, it's a quite bad frame. I don't know if it's fatal because they're already dead, John. You see, so I'm not sure how any deeder they can get.
You can always be deeder, as my daddy used to say.
You can always be deeder. There was two. I think there was 2 follow-ups to the game as well. As far as I know, there was like 3 of them. I had an interesting wee factoid as well that one of the games when it came out, the third game I think it was, some of it was banned because the character Mika, who you're playing, I think it's Mika and Miku, her dress was a bit too revealing. So nothing to do with the strangling ritual or the ghost trying to kill you or anything like that. It's because an anime character was showing a bit too much boob, which I think is a bit fucking crazy.
It just sums it up, doesn't it?
Aye.
What it sums up, I don't know, but it does sum it up.
It does sum it up, aye. It is very reminiscent of, even when you go back to the PS2 stuff, but when you get like the Resident Evil, Silent Hill, it's got that, very much that vibe to it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent game. I've never actually played any of the 2 follow-ups yet. I think by the time they came out, I think I'd never had my PS2 for that long, so I might have just moved on to other kind of games and stuff. But that's something I'll probably dig into soon. Let's have a wee shot of the follow-ups. Try and get the band version, just see how booby it is. Big booty frame.
How many pixelated breasts would you give this out of 5?
Aye, only 2. I think you can only give 2 inks a maximum pixelated breasts.
All right. Fair enough.
So, but I mean, it's good. I enjoyed it. I would say anybody else who play it, it's got a few good wee jump scares in it. It's quite tense. I think I want to say it's a scary game as such. But again, the bar's set quite high, I think, for kind of scary games. And just in that same year, Silent Hill 2 came out, which is the best horror game ever made. Silent Hill 2 is brilliant. And even if you're looking for jump scares, when you buy to the original Resident Evil, where Doug's jumping through the windows and that was a fucking jump scare.
Yeah.
But I remember that I genuinely gave me a fucking fright when it happened the first time.
Yeah.
So that's what you've got to kind of live up to. But again, I think Fatal Frame stands up there alongside them. I definitely think folks should get a wee shot. Get a wee shot, John. Get a wee shot.
Maybe I will, mate. Maybe I'll pick it up and get a wee shot. Something that I don't play so much now, but that I have had a long time obsession with. You see that how's that for a smooth, seamless segue, mate?
It is, mate. It is.
It's Football Manager. It's a series I've been obsessed with for over 15 years. I think the first time I ever played any of the management games was back when it was Champ Manager, and it was Championship Manager. It was the one that came out in 1998. I want to say it was maybe Championship Manager 3, or was it just called Championship Manager 97, 98? That's irrelevant. But I really enjoyed that game. And I played Championship Manager 2001, 02. And then I played 06, 07. And then I got Football Manager 2007. And for there, I have purchased every single edition of Football Manager ever since.
It's weird, John, because you've never talked about it.
Oh, Yeah, it's a funny story, man. Like, I went to a Hearts game, a European game against Riga. Well, it's not Riga, it's RFS. It's Riga's rival, but Riga's in their name. That's what the R stands for. Went to the RFS game back in 2022 with a couple of boys out in Edinburgh, a couple of Hearts fans that I know I'm friendly with. One of them's Alan, and he, like myself, is a football manager obsessive.
Right.
And Ewan, the other boy, he was hanging for the night before, right? So he was fucking. He spent half of the game like slumped across two seats, right? Um, and Alan and I were that was the first time I had like proper hung out with the two of them. But Alan and I had talked a lot on Twitter back and forth and all that, like sharing tactics and discussing, Hearts related stuff and Football Manager related stuff. And we were talking away about Football Manager, like, oh, I like to use inverted wingers. Oh yeah, I like to use this and that. And it was so funny because Ewan just was like fucking ready to spew or the place
Jesus.
draped across two seats. And he's just like, why don't you appear get a fucking room?
And play Football Manager.
He just had absolutely fucking no time for that bullshit because he's not really a Football Manager guy, but Alan and I really are. So we were talking about, oh yeah, I'm doing a save. We've had a bit of a crack over now, and it's gone really well. And here's my tactic and that. And he was just sitting.
Jesus.
His eyes must have been rolling back in his fucking head, the poor guy. But that was
He
a pretty funny story.
He killed himself that next day. I hope he has.
I think he ended up mad with it again that night. Actually, he was complaining about. He was moaning about wanting the McDonald's. I remember, and I think he ended up fucking on his arse outside the McDonald's, eating McDonald's, and then he ended up going out somewhere after that.
Jesus.
So, he's alive and well. I'm pleased to
Good. I'm
say.
Glad because that joke would have hit quite poorly there. Otherwise,
yeah. But yeah, Alan's a massive fan of Football Manager, and he's a dear friend. And shout out to both of them. But yeah, Football Manager is a game that I've played thousands and thousands of hours over the years. My favourite editions are probably 2012 and 2022. So the next one I'll enjoy will be 2032. By that logic. The last couple I've felt were missing a certain. I don't know what it is about the last couple that I don't enjoy, but I just don't like the last couple.
I mean, are they not all samey, John? Are they not all samey?
To an extent, every year you're expecting basically the same thing. But the version that we've seen the last couple of years just doesn't grab me like previous ones have.
Yeah.
The last really good one was 2022, but by far that was my favourite one so far. It was such a great version that I don't really mind going back to that, but I would rather be able to play like the new one every year because I buy it every year for like 40 odd quid. You know what I mean? Like I'm pissing money away in this game, and I just don't enjoy it anymore. So hopefully 2025 will be a bit better. But yeah, Football Manager, it's just great. It's like your own wee world. You can vanish into your own wee world for 1,000 hours, and you can win the Champions League with like fucking Greenock Morton. You know that they're going to win anything this year because they just got beat by Hearts. But yeah, hi Sam. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's just like your own wee world to disappear into, and you can win the SPL with fucking Dumbarton, and you can have like Lionel Messi playing for like Swansea. Just crazy shit happens in that game. It's brilliant. Football Manager, I love it, but I don't like it at the moment.
That's fair.
The next one you wanted to talk about. Now, this is your next one is actually going to seg perfectly into my next one because you wanted to talk about Fallout, specifically New Vegas.
New Vegas, because the segue for me for that is being in a whole, like disappearing in your whole world for fucking hours and hours at a time, like high end hours, as in like staying awake and not going to sleep, because you're just walking about. It's like it is a lot of it is a walking simulator. I don't like it, but it's so relaxing. Fallout New Vegas, I love it, and the game is simple. You're essentially a courier. You get ambushed, robbed, shot, buried, which is I guess that's no quite simple. That's murder. Somebody try to kill you, man. That's fucking awful. And then you get nursed back to health, and then you obviously go on a mission of vengeance. But there's all sorts of stuff that happens. I don't think like any time I've played New Vegas, I've not followed the linear gameplay of it. Like I've never tried to do. You obviously you should do this first, and then do that, and then do that. I've just went for a wander, and then every so often I'll get caught up in stuff that I have to do. But for me, it's one of the best games for that. The only other one I could say would similar to it would be like Red Dead, that type of just going out and just fucking wandering about and try to find like you're roaming about fucking mountains and hillsides, but you're just sitting in your fat ass in the house.
I know. You know what's funny, right? You mentioned Red Dead. Red Dead Redemption's got all these trees and all that, and like nice forests and that, right? Now, I can sit on the couch, right? And is that like that's me on the couch, and like my head here is the telly. See if I look out the window, I've got like trees right outside my window. But instead, I would rather shut the curtains, sit on my couch, play Red Dead, and be like, "Oh, look at these lovely trees." It makes absolutely no sense, but Red Dead is such a beautiful wee world to vanish into.
And at least in Red Dead, you don't have a fucking death clause chasing you. Like
true. And also there's also no Bells Hill Neds in there.
That is true. Like, maybe you have the death clause then. Maybe you might as well have death clause up there. I was also my weird obsession in Fallout New Vegas was picking up and trying to collect fucking everything. Shit that I didn't need, stuff that like, oh, there's a pan. I'll collect that pan.
That is the big issue. I've got one massive issue with Fallout New Vegas.
What is it?
And it's the end, right? So, like, know how when you're working toward the end for the story standpoint, so you've got House, you've got Anarchy, you've got NCR, and you've got Kaiser's Legion. You might have one or two others that I'm not remembering right now. You have to pick one path.
You pick one pathway, that's it.
As soon as you pick one of the pathways, you fail every other pathway.
Yep.
And you can't redo them. You can't like possibly DOI them.
Yeah.
That fucks me up, man. Like, I need to be able to either do everything or just have a linear path. Because if I can't go back and DOI the different paths in one save, I just always feel like there's something missing.
You're missing stuff. I think that was also like, before that, that's it. Obviously, it's your scattered fucking brains, because we like the wandering about, we like the collecting stuff, we like the disjointed stuff. I mean, at any one point, I would have so many half-finished levels, side quests, and then you're right. Once you pick one, that's you fucked for the rest.
I mean, we've probably played about 10 hours of Fallout 76 together, and I don't think we've actually done a quest yet.
No, we've not done a quest at all.
I tried
to go into a building, John. You were like, no yet. We're not ready for going to a building here. Just fucking hang about outside here.
I need to pick up another 3 planks of wood before we can go in there.
But I've like Fallout New Vegas for me is the game that I've kept going back to. Anytime I've got, I remember once back in the old shop, old Hellfire shop, somebody donated like the Xbox 360 with Fallout New Vegas for it, and right away the first thing I fucking did was hook that bastard up to the big telly at the back and start playing it. And I was in there for a good portion of that night, just playing it, just constantly playing it. And again, no actually doing anything, but just like losing yourself in this whole new world. But I thought everything about it was perfect. I thought the gameplay was great. Characters are good. The baddies were good. I thought the fighting mechanics, the shooting mechanics, and that were fucking excellent. And I thought the graphics were great as well. Like, there's no many down points for me for Fallout New Vegas. And I have completed it as one game that I can say I've completed it. Completed it a couple of times.
Have you played Fallout and Fallout 2 before? Were you already a fan?
No, I think Fallout New Vegas, I think, was actually the first one I played. I don't think I've still never played Fallout 1.
I've played Fallout 1. I've never finished Fallout 2, and I think I don't even think I finished Fallout 1. I think I got like halfway through eventually. But like, so the first one I ever played was the next game I'm going to talk about, which is Fallout 3. And another thing that I kind of don't like about New Vegas, which is it's a me thing. It's not the issue with the game. Is the Brotherhood of Steel, because the Brotherhood of Steel and Fallout 3 are such an absolutely massive part of the story, and they're also like protagonists as well. They're like good guys. They aren't like the Brotherhood as they were in the first 2 games. So like when I was playing New Vegas, I was like hyped to meet the Brotherhood of Steel because like that's my favorite faction. They've just got the cool power armor and all that, and I just think the whole deal is pretty cool.
Aye.
And so like when I met them, I was just like, eh. But then afterwards I realised, like, no, that's actually what the Brotherhood of Steel were like before. Like Fallout 3 totally changed the Brotherhood of Steel.
Aye. So I actually gave you a false sense of it.
Yeah, aye. Like the Brotherhood outcasts in 3 are mere like what the original Brotherhood were.
Aye, okay.
But yeah, one thing I find that Fallout 3 has better than New Vegas, and a lot of people probably will disagree with this, but I think the characters in Fallout 3 are better than New Vegas. Like, there aren't that many characters that I remember meeting in New Vegas that I found particularly memorable. Other than Ulysses, but he's in like a DLC. You
Yeah.
need to have a DLC to meet Ulysses. Same with the Burned man, Joshua Graham.
Yeah.
He's in a fucking DLC. All the best characters that you meet in New Vegas, you meet in the expansions.
Because I remember the DLCs. I remember they were fucking really difficult as well. So
yeah,
but enjoyed them. And you're probably right. The DLCs are more memorable. Actually, you
yeah.
said more memorable. I forgot about
Yeah.
the Bugman there until you mentioned them again. I'm like, oh, aye, he was
Aye.
good. Aye.
It's got some of the best DLC that I've ever played. To be fair, but like you say, it's like they bump up the difficulty a wee bit in the DLC in that game.
Aye.
Like the Sierra Madre one. I don't remember what it's called. But the one in the Sierra Madre. Let me see if I can find the name. Story endings, development, release. Dead Money.
Dead Money. I remember that one. I remember that as soon as you mentioned that fucking name.
Aye, it's hard as fuck. But there is that glitch. It's more of an exploit. There's an exploit where you can like get all the mad. I don't know if they're gold bars or something like that. You can like get hundreds of them, and you can manage to, if you can manage to get them out, then you can sell them, and you end up making so much bottle caps. It's unreal. But I remember Dead Money being super fucking hard, man. But yeah, the DLC in New Vegas is class. The main story is really good, but like I say, the end of it just fucks me up, man. Because it actively fails you on the quest. I don't mind if it's just like pick a quest and then you start to go down that one linear route, but it comes up, oh, you've failed these, and it's like, I didn't fail them. I made a choice. I chose to go down this path the rest of the way. That's the one thing that just really, really irritates me. That and the Brotherhood of Steel, and the Cazadors. Fuck the Cazadors.
Jesus, they can
fuck right off.
I mean, this will be a good segue into your next one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, aye. Fallout 3 is my next one, man. So Fallout 3 was the first Fallout I played. It was actually my brother Connor that got me into Fallout, and I think 3 was the first one he played as well. At the time that came out, I was obsessed with Metal Gear Solid 4, so I didn't really play it until a couple of years later. But Fallout 3 is so good, man. It's just a fantastic action RPG game. The setting is just outstanding. It's like like New Vegas is quite colourful, and it's the desert, and there's the strip and all the rest of it. Fallout 3 though is so bleak.
No, that's how I love Fallout 3 as well.
It feels like a post-apocalypse.
Aye, it's grey
more than any other game.
Aye, everything's grey, or everything's just everything's fucked.
Yeah, aye, and I think that's just perfect. It just fits so well. So yeah, like Fallout 3, great stuff, man, and the characters as well. Like Liam Neeson's character, Three Dog, he's class, man. Even smaller characters like Dr. Lee and all that. Like it feels like a more realised world. In terms of like the characters and their interactions, than I feel like any of the other. Than any of the other Fallout games that I've played, at least feel like. But yeah, Fallout 3, superb, and the music, the atmosphere, the music contributes to the atmosphere fantastically as well. The DLC is great as well. I love the DLC for Fallout 3, like the alien ones, Mothership Zeta. That's just mental, but you end up with some serious weaponry.
Never tried the DLCs
really?
for it.
Did you ever play Broken Steel? That's like basically the ending of the story, because like right. No, you never played it?
No. Oh, I did. I played Fallout 3. I just had Fallout 3 once.
Right.
I think I got it about the same time as I'd go New Vegas as well. So because I only played it as soon as it came out. I waited a while to play that one.
So
and
would you
again,
say
it's the same thing. But I never get into any DLCs.
right? So did you sort of just see Fallout New Vegas as like Fallout 3 but better? And
Pretty
sort of that
much.
was yeah.
Aye,
I
pretty
can see
much.
why you
Just a
would,
bit
to
more
be fair.
colourful and that, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Fallout New Vegas was
Yeah.
a bit brighter and stuff, but again, it does like I like the bleakness of Fallout 3. I like that as well. So
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck was going on with me back at that time because like I was right into Metal Gear Solid 4 and Fallout 3 and also There Will Be Blood. So just a lot
it's a very
of
specific.
darkness.
Aye, it's a very
Aye,
specific
a lot
mind
of
frame
a
there,
lot
mate.
of
It's not,
a lot of darkness and bleakness going on there. But yeah, good memories though. Weirdly,
aye, oh,
fantastic
definitely.
memories. Yeah, Fallout 3, man. Like it's a fantastic story. But like I say, the characters I feel are the best, the most fleshed out and best put together characters for the Fallout series. At least the games I've played. And the setting is just it's magical. There's something about that setting that just feels quintessentially Fallout and so post-apocalyptic. And I think that it's fitting as well that it takes place in like the American capital, and
Yeah,
it's just completely fucked. And it's just like I don't know if it tells if I don't know if there's like if there was an intent there to tell a mere meta story, but it kind of feels like there might have been, if that makes
yeah,
sense. You know, like about the state of politics in America. But yeah, Fallout 3. You wanted to talk about Friday the 13th next on
yeah.
Commodore and the Commodore 64.
Right. I'd like to say save the best for last, but as much as I fucking love it, it's not a good game. Like I love it because it ticks all my horror buttons, it ticks my nostalgia buttons. The mistake that I made was thinking that it was Commodore 64 that I played it on. I actually played it on the Spectrum. And the reason I remember playing it on the Spectrum is because I
Jamie, I
started
suspect that everything that you do on the Spectrum.
aye. Oh, aye, we're on the spectrum, mate. We're on the spectrum, right? But I basically, the one I remember playing, I remember it having no sound. And I always
Mhm.
thought, like, even when I was talking to you about it before, and we were
Yeah.
talking about DNF, and I was like, I'm going to do Friday the 13th. I was looking at it, and there was a bit of hoo-ha because the one, the Commodore 64, just used lots of music that it shouldn't have. So it used copyright stuff. I had Old McDonald had a farm and that playing on it. They just used snippets. The one, the Spectrum, when it came out in 1986, so it came out a year later, I had bad graphics. Well, even worse graphics because they all had fucking bad graphics. It had a lot more glitches and bugs to it, and it had zero music, no sound at all. So it had obviously the boop 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 with the walking and stuff, and lots of different weird wee sounds.
Yeah.
But it had no music, and apparently it's because of they just like Dolmark, who made the game, just absolutely made a buzz up of using
Mm.
music that they shouldn't have legally been allowed to use. So I'm like,
Right,
why
okay.
have Friday the 13th and have Old McDonald's had a farm? That's fucking crazy. That's like that guy sitting on a
Yeah.
table full of gear going, I've got an idea.
Yeah. It was the mid
Uh,
80s, to be fair.
aye. It's
It was
also
proper gear.
aye, it was a proper gear, mate. I mean, I was only about 6 or something at the time. So
You were
it really
already
hit me.
smashed on fucking
Aye,
all sorts.
it really hit me as a child, that stuff. No, but
What, the
like
gear or
the,
Friday the 13th?
the gear and the games. The game gear. Ah, see what I did there?
I don't
I done
know,
finger
because
guns and you
we're not
guys
talking
see
about the game gear.
it. Right, so Friday the 13th was weird because they didn't stick to like the facts of Friday the 13th or Jason
Mhm.
Voorhees. In the game, he could disguise himself as one of the camp counselors. So
Mhm.
you pick the camp counselor, and your job is to get all the other counselors to safety before he kills them or you. And you also had to try and work out what camp counselor he was disguised as. That's bizarre. Jason Voorhees was never a shapeshifter. I don't know where the fuck they got this idea to they could
Yeah.
have just had him running about while you think with him, but essentially
Maybe
the
they
only
were
way
going
they
for
worked it.
the Tommy Jarvis thing, where you know how like they were kind of leaning towards where Tommy was going to become the killer, because like the evil Jason was poisoning him.
This is pre.
Maybe they were
This
going down that way.
no, but this is pre. This is Friday 13th Part 2. This is based on. So
Okay. Or,
it does
maybe
not
not then.
it doesn't make any sense at all. The only way, essentially, you could find worms, you could find like an axe, pitchfork, and all that shit lying about. And if you seen him killing somebody else, then you caught him and he would chase you.
Right.
If you hit somebody, so like, see if you hit another counsellor and it was them, like it was Jason, he would turn into a guy wearing black and attack you. So even that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even fucking transform into Jason. It transforms into a guy in a
even
black
wear
t-shirt.
black. He wears like blue.
It's like a black t-shirt. It's crazy.
Aye.
I just remember it being annoyingly difficult, but I don't know if it was annoyingly difficult because I remember it also being
Man, they should have
glitchy
just
as
like
hell.
they should have just completely committed and had him like transfer into like a guy wearing Mr. Motivator style spandex,
You
and he
might
just
as
starts
well.
chasing you.
Apparently, like this leads into next to what I'm going to say. Weirdly, John. Right. So where am I going to go with this? You think?
I've perfected the segue.
Apparently, why the transformations that he does, I don't know if it's a Commodore 64 or the Amstrad or the Spectrum, but in one of the games, he doesn't quite transform back to Jason or the guy, so only half your wee character does. So it looks like he's wearing a midriff cut off top.
Right.
Because he's like, for the legs down, he's still the person, and be half of the waist up, he's Jason. That's just bad design.
Yeah.
I remember in John Menzies, I remember going to John Menzies to try and get this game when it was out. Obviously, it was cassettes when it was out. Spectrum. John Menzies had a fucking massive kind of game bit down the stairs. Had all the Spectrum games as well, and I couldn't find this at one point as like a kid. I remember being obviously dead young, probably far too young to be able to actually play it or anything. I must have been when it was in Menzies. I'd have been about 8, 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But I remember going to do it to try it, and it had actually been relegated. One of the reasons is John Menzies Dolmark got into trouble, which was a game thing for releasing it. Lots of mothers were writing into the press and that because it's got the Jason mask in the front of it, and it's got a big knife through it, and it's all covered in blood. But it's all ages game, so kids could buy it. Dolmark wasn't allowed to run ads in the newspapers for it. Dolmark get banned for magazines, gaming magazines, because of it. And John Menzies hid the cover. So basically, you'd have to go in and ask a member of staff. It was either at top shelf or you just couldn't see it because they'd actually put it behind other games because mothers were complaining that this is but it's just, it is weird. One of the good arguments about it was there was books released of it. The books had the cover, the exact same cover.
Right.
You could buy the books because the books weren't aged.
Yeah,
so,
it's kind of like the Jason Takes Manhattan, the film. The original poster had like Jason tearing down the middle of Manhattan with like his machete.
Yeah.
But then I think the New York Tourism Board were like, no, we can't be having that. We want you to change it. So like instead of that, they had to change it so that he wasn't doing that.
He's just he's just standing above it now.
Because he's standing with like a knife like that instead. Aye. It's crazy, man. Some of the bullshit that people get offended by and want to censor, and it's like there's actual psychopaths.
Aye.
There's actual psychopaths that are starving homeless people to death.
Aye, I'm sure Manhattan had a lot more problems at the time.
Governors, people who are in government.
Yeah.
But let's complain about a fucking fictional horror story. Like,
I mean, you're getting back to the 80s, so you're getting back to the fear mongering, the press running stuff about horror films.
The whole moral majority, moral majority, and the whole religious panic about the satanic panic and all that.
Satanic panic and all that stuff. So it essentially it get released at the right time and the wrong time for it as well. The John Menzies ones and all your British ones releases of it. Also, when you bought the game, it had 2 wee blood capsules inside it, free, which I think's a really good. I think that's cool as fuck. You know what I mean? Just say, remember you used to get them at a joke show, but it was the wee capsules you put in your mouth and busted it. That had 2 of them free in it, which I think's fucking a good wee twist in it.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty good.
I love the game. It was badly made. It looked shit. It was quite difficult to play. The storyline was chaotic, and yet it still just hit some nostalgia buttons. I would recommend anybody gets it to play. If I manage to get my Spectrum back or get another Spectrum, I'm going to try and get all the older games. Although I've been told it's quite expensive now to buy. So
I remember years ago, the Angry Video Game Nerd did a video of that, and the one thing that always sticks with me is the game over screen, because it just comes up, you and your friends are dead, game over.
Aye, game over. Aye, it's got a couple
I
of jump
love that.
scares in it as well. Like there's a
Mhm.
couple of bits in it where when you get caught just before that screen comes up, there's either see the screen that you've put up with the guy with the axe,
Yeah.
the machete in the head. That's why the kind of jump scare screens. And the other one is 6 floating skulls that laugh at you. Who the fuck is that going to do with Friday the 13th? It's crazy.
That
Just
sounds
floating
mental.
skulls up at the screen laughing at you, and then it cuts to you and your friends are dead. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Cheers,
Fucking
floating
hell, man.
skull.
Yeah, that sounds a bit mental. Did you ever play the PS4 game, Friday the 13th?
No, I did not. No, and I didn't play it because is that the one that's the online game?
It's one of them asynchronous, like,
Yeah,
online multiplayer games where one of you plays as Jason and the rest of you plays camp counselors.
that's right. Yeah,
Oh, it was so good. I think it's been discontinued now. The servers have been shut off now, I think. But I enjoyed that game a lot. I used to play that dead late at night when I was here by myself, man. I would just fucking sit and play that for ages. There was one time I was playing with a bunch of guys that were playing in a party, right? And because they had party audio sharing turned on,
yeah,
I could hear everything that they were saying.
right.
Um, so like they were like, "Oh, you guard the door there, and then I'll put the trap here." So I just kind of walked around the outside and like smashed all the lights out and all that, and like basically set traps in my own, just basically answering what they were doing. And I could hear one at one point going, "Here, fellas, this guy's actually a bit fucking nuts. I'm a wee bit legitimately scared." 'Cause I was just kind of like stoning and staring at them through the window and shit while they were like sitting trying to talk through their strategy.
Is this guy psychic? What's going on? You can read their minds.
Basically, I like when I went in, I kind of went in and darted to the side, and then they were like, "How the fuck did he even know that was there?" You know, like just, and that was why, because normally you can hear your own teammates,
Right.
but you can't hear Jason,
Ah, right, of
and
course.
vice versa. But because they were in a party and they obviously must have had like party audio
Yeah.
sharing turned on, I could hear their entire conversation, the entire
You know
game.
what? No, and you gave them the real slasher film
Exactly,
experience.
exactly. Yeah,
That's it, mate.
it was a dry run for the
It,
shorts and for
it
Soundbooth.
was. It was.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game, man. And the single player version, the first person single player element was super fucking. It was terrifying, so scary. Um, might be able to still play that actually, because I think that was offline that version. But yeah,
I think you can get that one the disc. Aye.
yeah. But I wanted to close up with Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII is the first Final Fantasy game that I played, and it is also my favourite Final Fantasy game.
Right. Controversial, John. But
It's controversial in a lot of circles, yes. A lot of people would suggest, no, Final Fantasy VII is better than 8. And then some people would say Final Fantasy IX is better than both of
yeah,
them. And some of them would say Final
yeah,
Fantasy VI is
it gets
better.
heated. It gets heated.
A lot of different people think different Final Fantasy games are the best. Final Fantasy VIII is mine. I think as a neurodivergent person, I think that I really related to the character Squall quite a lot when I was growing up. And some of the difficulties that he has by like communicating with people,
Yeah.
and his emotional instabilities. I think I really related to that character a lot growing up, and I think that that's why that story touched me in the way that it did. And I think it's got. I absolutely love the junction system. I like the fact that I like knowing that like all I need to do is like draw 100 of this magic, and then I've got this stat sorted.
Yeah.
It's no like, oh, I need to find this materia and then link it with this and do
Yeah.
this and that and the next thing. It's
It's
just draw the magic, train up the GF, and then equip the magic where you need it. I always really liked that system, and I thought the story was excellent. It's mental, but the story of Final Fantasy VIII is one of my favourite stories in media in general. I just love it so much. And the characters like Squall and the party that you form, like Zell and Quistis and all them, they're just such lovely characters, and I like to revisit them every few years, and see how they're doing, because like they were a big part of my younger years. I've really enjoyed Final Fantasy.
yeah.
That was up there with like Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill 2 for me, among my favourite games when I was like a kid, when I was like a teenager.
That's quite high praise
Um,
for you then, mate.
Oh yeah, it was in that kind of bracket with Metal Gear Solid and that. And I love the fact that it's so like it's so mental and so batshit that there's so many different theories about like the nature of the story and how it ends. There's different theories about like Squall, the character Squall,
Right.
and about Sorceress Ultimecia. You should look it up; it's amazing. Like there's a theory that Squall actually dies at the end of Disc One, and the rest of it is like his like death,
Right. Okay.
like his life kind of like flashing before his eyes, or like his death
So this is
sort of
all like
fever dream.
urban legends, basically based on the game.
Aye,
Right.
yeah,
That's quite cool. That's quite good.
yeah, and there's a theory as well that Renoa, who's Squall's love interest in the game, is actually the main villain.
Right.
Because the main villain is a sorceress that lives like way in the future. And the theory is that she is because Renoa is a sorceress. Eventually, you find out she is one of the sorceresses, and there's a theory that she is actually Ultimecia, the main villain,
Right.
um,
Okay.
who has grown old and bitter, and is trying to compress time to get back what she lost. It's really interesting.
So would you say any of these theories hold any weight?
So I've like for stuff that I've read and podcasts that I've listened to and watched. There was a really good one called State of the Ark that I was watching, and they had a really good discussion about it. And they kind of pointed out that even like the people who made the game are just like, it's an interesting theory, but no, that wasn't it. There was one of the,
Right.
there was one of the theories. I think it was the Squall is dead theory, or it might have been the Ultimecia one. But one of the two theories, the guy that made the game was asked about it, and he was like, "No, but if we ever did a remake, we might want to go down
Right.
that
Up that in it.
avenue and change
Aye.
the story, like to fit that, because that is really cool." But no, none of them were actually the case. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, man, that's one of my favorite games.
Excellent. Excellent. That,
Yeah,
that was. I mean, that's probably one of the better ones because I don't think there was any filler games in that.
no,
Even though Friday the 13th could have been a filler, but fuck it. I think
uh,
it stands up better than the rest of them. Just
yeah,
again, all the games we kind of talked about there were on nostalgia kickers.
yeah,
And it's all games that I'd play all my games again. I'm sure you did
yeah.
the same yours. So
Aye. Again, apologies for the issues with the live stream. That's not going to be an issue for much longer because as of the 1st of April, we're going to be pre-recording it anyway.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a frustrating one that we had to try 3 times to get it working. So we've pre-recorded this. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Give us a comment below the video. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/icycastpod. Follow us on YouTube and Twitch. It's the same URL. It's at icycastpod, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Follow us on the Fright or Flight podcast. It's at Fright or Flight podcast on YouTube. And follow us at Fright or Flight Promotions on Facebook as well, to keep up with the latest on the horror shots, the sound booth feature film, the Bloodbath Burlesque, and also the new horror podcast that we're going to be doing, the Fright or Flight podcast,
Yep.
which starts on April 1st. Everything's starting on April 1st. Starting for April 1st, you'll be able to follow the podcast on Spotify, and it'll be just a normal podcast, and you'll get each episode on a month delay. And if you are a subscriber to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/iceboxglasgow, if you are a subscriber to the Patreon, you'll get the audio version of the podcast for 4 weeks exclusively. From the 1st of April, you won't be able to watch the video of the podcast on Facebook. You'll have to follow us on YouTube to do that,
Yeah.
or watch it live on Twitch. Twitch has
Yeah.
only got it for a week, I think. So
think
if
it
you
is.
don't watch it on Twitch during that week, you'll have to go to Facebook. I think that's it. I think that's basically it. We will be back next week for another dive into my record collection. I'm excited for this one. We're going to do this record here, which is a record that means a lot to me. It's Devastator by Star, a rock band from Chicago, Illinois. This was their debut record that came out back in 2007. We're going to talk about this. So Jamie's going to listen to this a few times. I'm going to listen to it a few more times, and we'll discuss our thoughts.
Cool.
It's one of my all-time favorite records. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking for any fucking excuse to talk about this record.
Fair,
I will
mate. Fair.
take.
Better be fucking
So
good,
yeah,
John. Better be fucking good.
So that's coming next Monday night at 9 p.m. as usual. Until then, we've been John and Jamie. Thank you for watching or listening.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.